I believe we are recording.
All right. With that, I'll go ahead and open up the February ORT board meeting. We'll start with the announcement of proxies. And to my understanding, Peter is proxying for Chris Brown. Do we have any others? Okay, hearing none, then we'll go ahead and go to the adoption of the agenda. Does anybody have any changes that they see need to be made to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and consider that adopted. Next, we move on to the public comment period. Is there anybody from the public that would wish to make a comment at this time? In person or on Zoom? All right. Hearing none, item number 4 is the adoption of the December 23 board meeting minutes. Does anybody have any changes they suggest need to be made to this? All right, I'll go ahead and open it up for, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Item number 5 is the adoption of the procurement policy update. Joel, would you like to take this one?
Yes, sir. So we are under, and I'll talk about this later, we are under the year of our triennial review. And one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we got established, and Mindy has taken the lead on this and has done a great job of updating our procurement policy. Really what we've done is we've been able to go ahead and bring everything into alignment with the new rules and regulations set out by, I believe it's 4010 1C, no, 1E, which is the Federal Register. And there's not any real changes, Mindy, correct me if I'm wrong, except for the level of financial requirement for certain procurement pieces. Everything else still remains the same when it comes to when we've got to go ahead and do phone quotes, when we've got to go ahead and do actual procurements, that type of thing. And just one of the levels has changed. Outside of that, if you need more time to read this, my biggest thing on this one is to make sure that we have it adopted, in place, approved before our triennial review on May 7th and 8th, I believe it is.
So there are a lot of similarities to our previous procurement policy.
I would say it's 99% the same. Mindy, what was the one number that we changed up to 75,000?
Yeah, the only thing to match the state's requirement that we have to go out, we used to have, we go out for a bid for items, capital items and unexpected items over 25,000. We'd raise that to 75,000 to match the state, and that will just allow us for more flexibility to get quotes too, because you know, those smaller numbers, it's harder to get people to submit all those packages for proposals. And so hopefully that'll give us more availability, get more quotes when we're doing things, and to match the state as well. And then other than that, yes, it's just matching the clauses that the federal government requires for us to have with different levels of procurements, and cleaning up some of the language in the policy.
Okay, and I think I saw in there, was it anything above a $20,000 purchase will be taken to the board?
Yes, anything over 20,000, and that's the same as it was before.
Okay.
And that was something the board put in place many years ago. And so, yeah, any unexpected, unbudgeted purchases that we go out for over 20,000, we'll bring to the board for approval.
Indy, could you just help me understand this, the 25 versus the 75 that you just mentioned? How do those two work together, and what? Yeah.
Okay, so the 25 that the RFP used to be, or the 20,000 board approval?
The 20,000 board approval versus the 75,000 that you mentioned previously. that doesn't require formal bids now? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, so we raised that up to match the state amount, that we don't have to get formal bids for things under 75,000, and that'll just give us more flexibility, because I feel like we've had issues too in the past when we're trying to go out for full RFPs, because most vendors don't want to go through that whole bid process. You know, it's a lot more extensive than trying to just go out and get quotes, especially for things that are more readily available. You know, like if we needed to do, say, this might be larger than like updates to our bus wash, you know, but still would be under that 75,000. I think because we had issues, I mean, that was a larger procurement that we did, but something like that. It just gives us more flexibility, and we may match the state levels, but we still will go out, say if we're gonna do an update like that and we expect to be less 75,000, but more than 20,000, we're still gonna come to the board for approval on those items, so you guys know what's going on. It's just for how we can get, whether it has to be a quotes or formal bids, just that whole process.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions on this update? Hearing none, I've just kind of asked the question, if we're ready to approve this now, we can go ahead and hear a motion if y'all are ready.
I'm good to make that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion to adopt the procurement policy update. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, hearing none, the update is adopted. Next on the list is the financial reports. Mindy, if you'd like to take this one.
Yes, so we have our December year end here in the packet. And our December, we ended the year very well. Our revenue was a little bit under budget as compared for the year. That was mainly, you know, our claims for our 5311 funds were a little less than expected. And we didn't utilize quite all of our 5307 funds. And by doing that, we've gotten where we're 2 years in arrears on our grant funding. So that leaves us more flexibility when the government shuts down. We still have funds out there that we can utilize, that we don't have to worry about waiting for apportionments and things. And then we had, you know, a little bit more than expected in other things like our Walmart funding and things like that. Really, the major difference is our expenditures were quite a bit under for the year. And that really was largely due to salaries and wages and fuel, and really salary and wages, because a lot of earlier in the year, we were understaffed, and we've been continuing to kind of get up, and we've had lots of training classes come through. And I think we're a lot closer to where we need to be staffed now. So towards the end of the year, that came closer in budget, but we had a lot left over. But overall, that gave us a positive balance of 594 for the year, which a large portion of that went to capital needs, 465, which getting the ProMasters and the Ford Transits and updating some of our shop things. But overall, we had 129,000 left for future capital needs or other projects we need to do in the future. Are there any questions?
So that 129,000 is just going to be reserved for as the need arises.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Like you said, if there's a delay in federal funding or something like that, it's used to bridge that gap until it's approved again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And if I may just add, this is the perfect year for this type of scenario for us to be in, because we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months into the 2024 federal fiscal year. We still don't have a federal budget. We're under a continuing resolution, and there's been word that they might do by the end of March a 6/12 allocation for federal funding, which doesn't prove out any new growth. It's just the same amounts that were done in 2023. So with us being 2 years in arrears, it gives us the opportunity to go ahead and tap into the 2-year-old money and not have to be worried about not having a federal allocation at this point in time.
Hey, Mindy, you said that the 129,000 is going to reserves. I'm just curious, what was already in the reserve balance, and what does that reserve total balance look like?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I can get it to you later. I want to say it was around the same amount last year. So I will look at that and get that number to you later, if that's acceptable.
Yep, no, that's fine. I'm just curious, to me, seeing that, reserve fund, kind of grow over time, is probably in our best interest.
Yes.
That way, as we've got large capital expenditures that maybe we cannot afford through annual operating budgets, we've got a little cushion there to absorb some of those expenses in the future.
Yeah, I think that's the thought too, for us to build that up. So yeah, as we need to grow and expand and get more things, vehicles or other capital items, that, yeah, the tighter years that we have that funding, that we don't have to worry about trying to find it from somewhere else last minute or.
Okay, are there any other questions for Mindy? Hearing none, we can go ahead and move on to the ridership stats. Thank you, Mindy. And Kendall, take it away.
All right, I put my usual summary together on another page here. I'll show on the screen. But December, the 2023 ridership packet and January is in the board packet, complete reports. But a little summary here. We'll go over the 2023 numbers, how we ended the year. We did end with that record-breaking 7-year ridership high, 272,023 passengers. Our fixed route grew 2.4% over the previous year. On demand, of course, grows. It was 155% increase over the previous year, and paratransit was down just a little bit for the 2023 numbers. There you can see Fayetteville grew by 21%, Springdale 31%, Rogers 47%, Bentonville 84% growth. The express route grew 80% almost. And the other areas, outlying areas, are down just a little bit. So there's our 34%, 35% growth from the previous year, and a little graph showing our last 7 years of ridership there with a record-breaking year. We barely eclipsed it, I think, by about 87 passengers. So it come down to the last day, but we did do it. So that was exciting. And as we're about to see, we're already ahead of 2023's pace. Ridership. We'll just go over that now. Here's the last Saturday, February 17th. This is our ridership for the first month and a half of 2024. Fixed route already is up 3% on demand. It's up almost 10,000 passengers at 140% growth. Paratransit's down some. A lot of that's due to we no longer do Carroll County in the variable service, and they were doing about 300 passengers a month. So that's kind of why our paratransit is dropping a little bit, and that's that number. Passengers, you can see the Fayetteville ridership through the first month and a half is up about 4,000, 38% growth. Springdale's up 49%, Rogers 40%, then goes up 29%, and then the other areas is down 46%, but we're still right at that 36% growth, even over our record 2023 years. So that's exciting.
I have a question.
Yeah,
You say it's up certain percentage, is that from January of last year?
Yeah, that's what this is. So like Fayetteville was, well, let's just look at Springdale. Springdale carried 11,804 so far this year. Same year to date, 2023 through February 17th or whatever it was.
Okay.
February 17th, 7,904. So, yeah.
Thank you.
And our Fayetteville Saturday ridership, last thing I want to touch on here. Fayetteville began a second on-demand on February 3rd, and they implemented the Route 20 also, fixed route on February 3rd. In January, you see the one fixed route was carrying around 50 passengers on its service each Saturday. Starting February, the two carrying 65, 72, and 73 last Saturday on the two, having two fixed on-demand routes out there. And then the Route 20, the first Saturday carried 62, 65 the next Saturday, then this past Saturday carried 95 passengers last Saturday. So we actually went from carrying about 50 people on Saturday to almost 170 people And I think the Route 20 will continue to grow as they're finding out it's running on Saturday, and that availability is out there for them now on Saturday. So, but the main thing that's exciting is the January, each Saturday, we averaged about 35 seat unavailable. So the on-demand, they were getting a lot on, even though we carried and completed 50 trips, 35 people were being denied. In February, our average denials now is 14 on the on-demand. So it's dropped significantly by putting out that second on-demand route and implementing the Route 20 on Saturday. So just kind of want to show what's going on in Fayetteville on Saturday, and that's really all I got today.
Kendall, are the year-to-date numbers in our packet?
No, I just put this together just after I said it's this week, so I will forward this, 2 pages of these numbers here to the board,
Yeah.
after the meeting date.
Okay, appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet. I'll try and do that going forward, before each board meeting, so you'll have it in advance. So I try and do this and get more up-to-date numbers, like I said, through last Saturday, so, present those numbers to you, so.
Okay, yep, fit that. And I might be probably jumping ahead. I feel like I saw somewhere, maybe it's in Joel's director report, about ORT will be closed Saturday, March 2nd.
Yes.
I wanted to make sure we were getting that out, the word out on that social media, elsewhere. This Saturday service is awesome. People are obviously relying on it. They're not going to have it, that's not this Saturday, but next Saturday. That's something we certainly want the community to know in advance.
Yes, we will make sure that we get that in everything from traditional media to social media, and everywhere that we can possibly preach it. Jumping ahead, just real quick comment on that. It's getting more and more difficult to get everybody together for an in-service training day, and the only day that we can really pick is a Saturday, and that's what this is. This is 100% all hands on deck in one shot. So we'll feed the employees, we'll celebrate safety training successes, and pass on some information as a whole group. And unfortunately, it can only happen on a Saturday at this point in time.
No, completely understand. Just want to make sure customers are aware.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I'll put an announcement on the apps a few days before so they can prepare. It'll pop up on their app when they open up to schedule a ride, announcing that we'll be closed on that day as well. That'll be a few days before that date.
Okay, Kendall, did you have anything else?
No, that's all.
Okay, are there any questions for Kendall? All right, thank you, sir. Next up on the list is the social media update. Is Erica there to present this one?
Yes, I'm right here, but I think Jeff goes before me, so after Jeff's
Okay.
update, I'll go.
Okay,
Well,
Jeff.
I don't have a whole lot to report. Basically, we just got some booth fairs scheduled coming up in April. One is a very popular one at the Adult Wellness Center in Rogers. It's been well attended. Our booth has been well attended in that one in the past. The other thing we've got going on is we are starting to lock down some dates and some events to do our blind spot awareness events. I believe probably the first one is going to be May 15th, which is Touch a Truck. And we have talked about making that not only a blind spot awareness event, but also a paint the bus event. We've got tentative commitments to have a bus and hopefully be able to man that well enough to get paint and watch all the kids and make sure they're not painting where they're not supposed to. And I've had some different degrees of conversations with groups like Amazium, the Fayetteville City Library or Fayetteville Public Library, some other ones like that, getting that going, Trailblazers. The last thing I want to mention is we started doing something about 7 or 8 months ago, working with Lakeisha, our art liaison, and the Springdale Public Library. We are going to put together a scale model of the solar system along a path in Springdale that's accessible by either of the, or one of the two routes. And it's going to be a 6-mile long model, beginning at the Springdale Public Library with the sun there, the Mercury and Venus within the walls of the public library, and then Earth, Mars, and Jupiter between the library and Thompson. Saturn will be there at the Northwest Medical Center. Uranus will be at Shallow Museum. Neptune at the Jones Center for Nonprofits. And finally, we included Pluto because there's a bunch of old people on this committee. So we included Pluto, and it's going to be at the Jones Center. It's going to be very simple. Starting out, we're just going to have applications on the back of bus stop signs, and there actually is bus stops or a bus shelter at every location where there's not. Some of those, like I say, some of those locations, Jones Center for Nonprofit, and Shallow Museum, there's actually a brick and mortar thing there that I've already started talking with Shallow Museum about that. So anyway, it's just going to be kind of a neat little thing. Hopefully we can improve upon it going forward, but we felt like we had the bus stops in line there, and it's just a matter of putting a little application on the back with some graphics, some links to websites and things like that to give a little information and kind of get on board with the promotion of the total eclipse coming up in April, the NASA's intention on returning to the moon, that type of thing going forward. We're wanting to kind of tap into all that. So as a nerd, I'm excited about it. I think a lot of people are excited about it. Some maybe not so much, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to both for some ridership along those two routes too. And that's all I've got.
When does that happen?
We are going to make an announcement. So the library is doing a big shindig with the total eclipse coming up April 8th. We are talking about doing something, and we're going to announce it then, but we're talking about doing a big shindig at the park next door, right around twilight, so that we'll have some stuff to do during the daytime, and then we'll have some telescopes or some different things out there to view the night sky then, and then really roll out exactly what we're planning on doing. I've already talked to a bank. I probably have to talk to a couple more about maybe doing some hot dogs, some different things like that, and just having a nice little community event for fellow nerds.
I wouldn't say it's a nerd thing, like, I think everybody thinks it's cool. I think it's a cool project, it's really exciting.
I tell my girlfriend about it and her eyes just glaze over, so that's all I got.
It's a good idea. I like it too. Thank you, Jeff.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about that one. So our marketing update, so our planned messaging for the next 2 months will be, we'll continue to shine a light on the personal aspect of ORT. We saw a lot of growth, and especially with engagement with our employees and their family on our social media, encouraging each other, especially when they were gonna do their CDL testing or when they were in training and they were excited about it. So it's, I can see the stigma of working in transit slowly shifting, if you look at the demographic of new employees that are coming in. So I'm really, really excited about that. And then we're also going to be, part of our messaging over the next few months is going to be encouraging the use of fixed routes, because those are still $0. And then the exploring parts of Northwest Arkansas along those fixed routes. Peter, to your statement about making sure our community knows that we're going to be closed March 2nd, we do have something scheduled for starting Sunday. What we found in the past is when we give people too much notice, they assume that it's for that following Saturday or that following Friday. And then we get a lot of messages and it gets, the message kind of gets lost and confusing. But I appreciate you bringing that to our attention, and, you know, to help ease your mind. That's gonna start Sunday morning, and then we're slowly just gonna be reminding people, kind of tapping them on the shoulder, that we're gonna be closed that day. And as far as the social media messaging goes, we are going to be separating our messaging for on-demand and fixed routes, and that's because of the fare implementation. And we're going to be focusing on educating the public on how to purchase their rides. I just spoke with Mindy and Kendall earlier today, and we're actually gonna, the goal is to roll out buying their on-demand rides starting sometime next week, so that people can get used to it instead of it just starting March 4th, everybody has to figure it out. Hopefully, we can answer a lot of those questions, early next week via our website, and then that's when we're gonna launch a live chat beta to see if we can help people answer their questions as they're on the site. And again, that live chat option will only be available a couple of hours a day. But what we've noticed is our website analytics will actually show us when the most people are online, and we're able to be there during that time. So that's something that it is gonna be happening just across the board on all platforms. One thing that we did notice, and it's on, Kendall, you don't have to go to this page, but it's just something for y'all to look at. On page 3, it's our social media analytics. And I'll touch on that now. We've seen a big jump. You don't have to jump to it.
Well, they don't have it.
Oh, they don't have it. Oh, that's right. I forgot because we don't have everybody here today, and we printed out these beautiful binders. But so if you look at that, we did see some growth in followers, and we've seen jumps in engagement. But it hasn't been the huge jumps that we've seen maybe all of 2023. And that is just the slowly not decline, but steady growth that I expected actually in the summer. But we just continue to grow because people were excited about all the cool projects that we were doing, all of the services that were happening. And so now we're seeing that just become more steady instead of spiking up. But that should grow. Again, we should see an additional spike with our Route 20 on Saturdays, with some new routes that will get extended, or new buses, or the implementation of the fare. We're gonna see a little bit more engagement probably in the next couple of months. So I'll expect that to grow in some fashion. Going on to our website, like I touched on earlier, we're gonna be doing some updates on it. That's gonna be on the first page, Kendall. Yeah. We've seen a jump in new visitors, especially it looks like they're in the middle of January. But we should see another jump again happening in the next couple of weeks, especially when we launch our fare implementation and people are starting to learn. One thing you'll see right here where it says your growing content there on the bottom right or bottom left is people are actually looking at routes and schedules and maps, and a rider guide. So people are starting to educate themselves on using public transit. And that was really the goal. That's been the goal all year. Is we love answering questions, and I will do it all day long, and I will help people plan their trips. But now people are feeling more empowered to do it themselves. So I'm really, really excited to see that particular growth on our website. And our, we got another badge from the Google Search Impact, and how we're pulling up organically, which means that's not something we're paying for. We don't pay for anything on Google. All of that is SEO, so search engine optimization. That is just our website and our marketing kind of doing their thing. And then now go to the bottom there for marketing materials. I have them here to pass out, but I guess you won't be able to see them. Actually, you can if you go to the 4th page. But you don't have to do that right now because you really can't see it probably on the screen. But we do have some new information for our now hiring ads, so that if Jeff goes out to these booths or if HR goes to these booths, they have something to give people. And what we learn is that people are excited about driving for transit. They just don't know the steps. And it's a older profession, but also very new for this new generation because they're just learning about buses, and now they're like, I can drive a bus. So what we did is we showed them all the different ways that they can be part of the transit community and with our company. And then we showed them, this is how you apply for a career. These are the things that you'll need. And then we actually give them a little insight on what their first couple of weeks look like, so that they know what they're getting into and they know the questions to ask. So that's what this brochure is, to show them what they could be doing and then what happens after they go through the training process. And so HR was a key with helping us get that done. Another cool thing that you can't see because you're there, but everybody else here can see, and I will continue to rub that in, is we have this really cool greenway map. I believe one of the board members, I think it was Jesse, was saying that he wanted an overlap of our zones with our greenway, and so we actually did create one, and you'll see it on our website soon. We're in the middle of getting a public link, but this map will actually show the public where they can get an on-demand bus while they're on the greenway. So if they, you know, bike a little too ambitiously, they can hop on one of our buses, they can start their ride, or they can end their ride using this map. So really, really excited about that. And everybody is so far away, but you can look at this when you have time. We finished the map, and we're at the beginning stages of promoting it and giving people public access to it. Our now hiring campaign, I believe, was very successful with the growth of our training groups and the different demographics. So I'm really, really excited about that. We had multiple new hires and large training classes. And then in Q2, we're going to be focusing on maybe doing a radio ad, but continuing our TV ad. Any questions so far? Okay, so emails, I see all of our emails, and this is really important, I believe, for our marketing and for the board to know what people, oh, sorry, second page. I really want the board to kind of know, like, ear to the ground kind of with what's going on with the public. And we did see the emails dip a little bit when it came to seat unavailables, and which is really, really great. And we're seeing a jump in emails of support for paying for transit, which I thought was really great, because people are saying like, oh, if I can get a ride and I'll pay for it, like, I'll be happy about that. So I'm excited and a little bit nervous about the launch, but people are seeing it as something positive. And we're getting, again, but we can see it with the trending inquiries that people have been searching for. If you look, or if you zoom in, it'll see people are searching for ORT bus routes, Ozark Transit on demand, our bus schedule. So people are ready to use it. And our communication messaging for the last 2 months was the cleanliness of the buses, winter safety, community resources. And we did that again because we didn't know what the implementation was gonna look like, if we were gonna do the fair or not. So we were focusing on just educating our public and getting involved in local events. We highlighted human trafficking awareness during the month of January, and I have some flyers here as well. And we had those in Spanish and in English with local resources. So if somebody were to scan a QR code, it would actually go to a partner that we have that is local, and that we get the information directly from them. As far as the community goes, for those of you that are here, you can see our amazing bus that was designed with the community outreach program that we had, where we had local designers send us their art for our buses. And these are specifically for the new ADA paratransit buses. The goal of this was to help people feel empowered when their bus came to them, where if they were going to a chemotherapy appointment, or if they were just going to the grocery store, if they're qualified for ADA, that means that they had to go to a doctor, and the doctor said, hey, this person needs this. So when they order a bus to them, a lot of times people feel that they don't have freedom. And so what these buses do, they offer freedom through transportation. And they don't, and I've heard this a number of times where people use ADA buses and they're happy about it because then they don't feel like a burden to their family, regardless of if they're a burden or not. So when these buses come to them, and if you see the art, it's what the artist's goal was to bring Northwest Arkansas to the buses, and I believe they did a really, really great job. So you'll see that. I know we did a mini video on our Instagram, but you'll see the actual photos coming out in the next couple of days. They're really great. You should see them in person, but if you can't, I understand. And then let's see. Our next steps for the Marshallese and the Spanish landing page on how to ride. We've had some difficulty getting a translator, so our focus for that is just that's gonna be our goal for 2024. And then our messaging for our public is, I've lived here my whole life and I didn't know Arkansas had The amount of times all of us probably in public transit have heard that, where I didn't know we had buses and it breaks our heart. But what we've learned is people say that about the Jones Center and people say that about Momentary. So we're gonna be focusing on getting our community engaged in that way. We worked closely with the Downtown Springdale Alliance, and they're actually gonna be mentioning us in their next newsletter with the project that Jeff and Lakeisha are working on, so very excited about that. We've had a really great partnership with the Fayetteville Public Library and their team at Tyson to do a transit training and library training. And so that is again, that, you know, marriage between using our resources to get to other resources. And so really, really excited about that project. That should be happening at the end of this month. One really fun project that we were able to do with Camp Acadia, and this is due to the demand response program. They are a camp that helps people with different abilities and neurodivergencies. They can go out, they can get freedom through transit. So it's again on our messaging, freedom through transit, whatever your abilities are, we're gonna be there, we're gonna be your partner. And so we're able to do that because it's from Gentry to Rogers, and that'll be through our demand response program. And then one fun fact, Kendall mentioned it, our 7-year high for our ridership in 2024. They did talk about us in Arkansas Business and Talk. There's a link to the article on our social media pages. And one thing that's really important, I'm really excited about it. They talked about us, but also it shows a 7-year ridership high, which tells everybody else, people are using the bus. You're not gonna be the only one on the bus. Obviously, it's a trend, so it instills some more confidence into our community about using our bus. Some pending events that we have going on, Jeff mentioned the Trailblazer team and having a bike and bus safety workshop. I mentioned this last time, but this is actually launching next Friday. The U of A Fashion and Public Transit Show is next Friday, March 1st. And it is an amazing designer that focused on public transit and how transit helped her get to the next level and helps people get to the next level in their careers or in their life. And really a beautiful, positive light to transit. They're actually using one of our buses in their show. So that will also boost our social media and community awareness. We have a Bussitter roundtable scheduled for March. And that was, and if those of you who have been on the board for an extended period of time know that we launched the Ambassador program after we launched the, after we did the Friends of Transit event in 2023. And there was excitement and people wanted to do something, and it was really our call to action. So we're getting those same group of people that we've been training all year, we're getting them back in to say, okay, let's talk about ideas, actionable things. What can we do in 2 weeks and 3 months by the end of the year? And what potential programming do you want to see, and how can we do that together using those people that are in the room? If you know anybody that wants to be an ambassador, please let me know and I'll get them the link. I would like to have no more than 10 people, because then it gets kind of out of hand and people can't like listen. So the goal is to have a productive roundtable with actionable items. As I mentioned a second ago, we have our ambassador program and we launched it and it was really great. And for us, it was fun. And what I've noticed is Joel and I, when we went to a conference 2 weeks ago, I actually had agencies come up to us and say, hey, we used your ambassador program to launch our own ambassador program for community engagement, because we are just a solo marketing team and we were able to create ambassadors within our community. And one was recognized and they asked him to speak on it on a panel about his program. And he said, this isn't my program. This is what Ozark Regional Transit did. I got this idea from another event that they told me about. And, you know, they were talking to me at another event at a conference in July. And they were able to implement it right away and create a community in their own transit world for that. And another agency did the same thing where they said, hey, we're doing this right now and it's because of Ozark Regional Transit. So our ambassador program has been very successful within our own community, but also in other transit communities. And I think that's it. Any questions?
A lot of great progress and a lot of different directions too. That's great.
Yeah, hey Erica, I know you mentioned you were working on Marshallese translations, and you may already be a step ahead of me on this one, but I figured it was worth checking. Have you reached out to UAMS about helping with those yet?
I haven't reached out to, that's a really good idea, because I had a meeting with them and I have another meeting scheduled with them. I met with somebody at the Marshallese Coalition, but they were gonna be like out of the office for about like 2 weeks or something. And so I've been trying to just get back on her calendar, but, you said UAMS?
Yeah, Katie McCraney, she's their project manager. She helped me with Marshallese and Spanish translations both for signage on the Razorback Greenway a while back. So if you do want to go that route, I'm happy to facilitate. We can set up a meeting with her or something like that.
Yes, please, I would appreciate that.
Okay, yeah, I'll shoot you an email.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right, are there any other questions on the social media update? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, the open discussion on transit successes and opportunities in our communities. I'll just kind of open the floor for anyone who wants to jump in on this one.
I had a question, just generally speaking. I know Joel has talked about this with me a little bit in the past, but, if there's discussion about coordination with school districts, in the cities, that we serve now, and opportunities to coordinate with them in different ways. I think they all have different needs. But I don't know, is that on anybody's radar?
I can say that comes up on my radar every July and August. Because the school districts will reach out to me on how we can coordinate with them on getting students to and from certain schools that are along routes that are already established, or what should we be doing on our end to go ahead and support the school districts. And really what it comes down to is there are a lot of, I will call it, arguments over whether or not students should be walking a certain distance versus being able to be picked up at closer intervals, where if they worked with public transit, and there's going to be a fee involved, there's going to be a cost associated that we would have to go ahead and set with the school district involved. But the ideas and concepts of having children of certain ages, and I'm talking high school and junior high, having to walk extended distances is met with, I'm going to say my personal interpretation is quite a bit of resistance. There's a lot of feeling that the students should be able to be picked up at their local neighborhood bus stops that are currently established in the school districts, as opposed to for every 2 bus stops create 1. Making it a larger bulk pickup, or having the children walk a little bit further, the young adults walk a little bit further. And then, of course, the cost associated with it for us to go ahead and start establishing services early enough in the day that won't impede on the city's services themselves. It starts to manifest itself into a great idea, and then the arguments against additional walking and additional fees has a tendency to go ahead and squash it. I mean, that's been a running conversation, I'm going to say, for the last 3 or 4 years. I've done it in Springdale. We had a conversation a couple years back in Rogers, and it's getting traction is a little difficult, but it's going to be a long process, and the continued conversations will just, I think, will benefit it in the end by making it occur within another year or 2. That's my personal opinion.
Okay, I just kind of wondered if we had like a vehicle for ongoing discussions. And, and if there's a time too where, I mean, I think, if you work in government at all, that, I mean, eventually it's just, if you talk to the right people and be a squeaky wheel, then that's a driver of change for better or worse. And so I just wondered if there's a way we could set up specific, like if we have specific contacts within school districts. And I don't even know like what the end game is at this point, but like to have like a regular touch point with school districts about what could be done. And just kind of keep tabs on what the needs are, cause I feel like they're changing all the time. And, and if at some point, like it makes sense to, does it warrant talking to a school board member or whatever? I don't know. And I don't know. I just kind of wondered if we had like a organized approach to it, because it seems to me like that could be like figuring out how to collaborate on that could be a real driver for expansion of routes and coverage of area. And it could be an expansion where you could have a substantial amount potentially of ridership. So it could get beyond the, empty bus or half empty bus argument that we all hear. And quite honestly, from a political standpoint, I think it's harder to argue against helping children. I mean, that's a political win all the time. And I don't know. So I just think about, we're trying to leverage things to move forward growth wise, that could be a really good way to do it. And I have a kid in middle school now, and just the logistics, of them getting around and, any activities that they're involved in, when you have parents that both work, full-time jobs, like it seems like there's a lot of potential. And I don't know, that's all. That's a pretty unorganized process, but.
And just to let you know, the vehicle, for lack of a better term, that inspires these discussions on an annual basis is the realization in July and August that school is starting in a very short period of time, and the school districts are understaffed significantly. And then, of course, that spurs the conversations. The conversations get going, and they have a tendency to die on the vine when we start talking about costs associated with it. And of course, also driving the students, whether it's junior high or high school, driving them to a major thoroughfare for pickup so that we can actually stay on time when it comes to running cycles back and forth in the fixed route system.
Right. I understand. That's why I was thinking if we had an organized approach to where if we're touching base on a regular basis and not just in July and August where everybody's freaking out trying to figure out how to do everything, then maybe we could get somewhere faster. I don't know. I would volunteer to be helpful with that to whatever degree I can.
You got it.
All right. Thank you, Juliet. Are there any other discussions that need to be had on this item? Okay, hearing none, I'll just take the low-hanging fruit right now that our trajectory for this year is record-setting. That's also wonderful news. Yeah, hope to see another record-breaking year for ridership. All right, item number 10 is the director's report. Joel.
All right. If you'll go ahead and scroll down to that. All right. So you authorized me last year to go ahead and submit for a charging, fueling, and infrastructure grant. We made that application. There was $622 million provided to 47 awards across 22 states. Ozark Regional Transit was not one of them that received one, and nobody in Arkansas received a CFI grant. And I know there were a couple of them that came out of Arkansas. If this is something that you want me to continue to pursue as the 2024 budget gets approved on the federal side and they release another notice of funding opportunity, I will gladly go ahead and do that. But it's not a decision that needs to be made at this point in time, but it is definitely something that if we're looking for in Northwest Arkansas, a series of charging and fueling locations. We had 17 of them picked out, scattered throughout Northwest Arkansas, and each of those was an enhanced bus stop along the way where there was charging, there was a bus stop, it was along the fixed route corridors. It is something we can definitely take a look at again. We would go ahead and engage Sean Strait again with Olson, as far as I'm concerned, to go ahead and put something together so that we can have a successful grant application. The first year that it went out, they looked at 22 and 23 money, and they had 3 or 4 times the amount of application requests in for the amount of money that was there. Moving on to the Walton Family Foundation grant, it has been approved, it has been received. 2 grants, they split them out by county this year instead of individual cities. So 522,000 plus supports the cities of Springdale and Fayetteville, and 1.175 million goes to support the cities of Bentonville and Rockford. We've implemented the easy one, which was Springdale and Fayetteville, and we're still working towards final implementation of the Bentonville and Rogers 2024 operating plan is the best way to put it. We're looking at ODT fares, on-demand transit fares, beginning March 4th of 2024. We've done a great job on the backside of getting everything geared up and ready to rock and roll. One of the good things is that we are able to go ahead and serve the new term that I heard earlier on when we were thinking about this was the unbanked. People that don't have access to money but do need to have access to transportation through one of their social service agencies. We can do this through credit card, debit card, as somebody goes ahead and has their own profile updated with their own payment information. We can also have somebody call in and provide us with their payment information when they schedule a ride through us at the front desk or through dispatch or through scheduling. And then we can also issue 10 ride passes. Those 10 ride passes can be paid for in cash at the ORT offices, through a check at the ORT offices. Somebody can mail us a check. We can mail them out passes. Somebody can call in and order passes like a social service agency and order 1, 2, however many passes they want. And we will sell them those 10 ride passes and then either mail them or have one of our road supervisors or other responsible office personnel deliver those to those locations. And I think of Salvation Army, Seven Hills, that type of thing, that would order them in bulk, and then they can go ahead and distribute those out to their individual clients and or potential riders. We have a seniors and people with disabilities pass that will go at 60 cents a ride. And of course, you know, it's $12.50 per pass for regular riders and or $6 for people, for seniors and people with disabilities. The kickoff date is March 4th. We're ready for it. Our online portal is almost ready for it. Our front desk and our, I guess, Square type of payment is ready for it. Our dispatchers are ready for it, and VIA is ready for it. So it looks like this should go off without too many glitches and or hitches. Questions, concerns on that? Okay. Moving forward, the federal share split discussion at the regional level. I see Tim Rivas is in the group. If he's got any comments on this, how this is going at this point in time. But on a ORT level, Abby Foster should have been already reaching out to all the individual board members to get discussion points on it. Her and I will be having a conference call tomorrow as I'm heading from Michigan back to Northwest Arkansas. I've got a lot of windshield time, so a lot of time to talk. So she'll be bringing me up to speed on what's going on there. And we will start figuring out what next steps are for the ORT board. Tim, do you have any comments on the regional level?
Yes. there's been a meeting between a subcommittee to start these discussions. Right now, in the information gathering phase, so to speak, I anticipate the group coming back together next month to pick up where we left off and look at a couple of new things. But that's as specific as is appropriate for me to get right now, I think.
Very good. This will be a long process, but at least we are actually executing this process at this point in time, which is good. Triennial, go ahead.
Sorry, just, so when I talked with Abby Foster earlier this, what, I don't know, a week or so ago. And, I was trying to remember, quite honestly, what the process was and the current split, and everything. And I was wondering if maybe we don't have to go through it today, but if somebody could just send us out just like a bullet point list, like here's the split right now, percentage, here's what the real dollars are, you know, that equates to. It was done originally in 2003, or I can't remember what the, you know, and then the process to change it is going to be like, which part is regional planning and which part is ours. I just wanted to get a reminder of the clarity on that, because I honestly just couldn't remember when we were talking. I feel like those are critical things to keep in my head.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll get a bullet point sent out mid to late next week, and it'll just be a little historical document of what I know. I can say this right now, everybody's best guess is that the original split was on the ORT side was done so based off of who was contributing what at the time to public transit in between the four cities. The split between Razorback and Ozark Regional Transit, that had a lot of negotiations back and forth in it. When Razorback Transit became a 5307 federal grant sub-grantee under the Regional Planning Commission. So that was, I guess, argued back and forth. And I mean, even Tim Conklin and I, we're still kind of up in the air on how that originally occurred, because I mean, really, the only one that's been here as long as this has been going on is Kendall. He is our historian, and he can't figure it out. So
Yeah, and I realize there's things we don't know. I was just trying to remember, like, what the process exactly would be get changed and how much money we're talking about, because I think that's a critical part of the discussion. And I couldn't remember it, and Abby didn't have that information when I was talking to her, and so I'd like to have that.
And Tim Rivas has got a great PowerPoint presentation that he shared with everybody. Tim, was Juliet on that list that when you shared it with everybody, or no?
I'll send you some information on all that.
Okay, thank
I've
you.
got it gathered. So
Okay, I appreciate it.
pretty easy.
Okay, thanks.
Next thing on the report is the triennial review. We found out early January that this will be the year that we go through a triennial review. Our upload of all of our information has to be done by the 29th, which is next Thursday. We put in all of our original information. We get it over to our reviewer. Our reviewer then will be on site May 7th and 8th. And this, folks, is the fine-tooth combing of everything that they possibly could want to see about how we have been administering our business, everything from maintenance to federal grants and everything in between. It's a long and involved process, but it's not the end of the world. A lot of people think that it's the end of the world when the federal reviewers come through, but we've been doing this for quite a few years successfully, and it has revealed some things where we need to go ahead and put some corrective action in, and it also has revealed some things in the past where we've made some mistakes, but all mistakes are correctable, and this review is it's a Inspector General's review as far as I'm concerned. Been through a lot of them, and they are all good information for me to make sure that we're doing things the way that we're supposed to be doing them. But it's busy work, and there's a lot of work that's got to be done to be prepared for it. Upcoming events, March 2nd, we talked about that a little bit earlier. No services on that Saturday. That's the ORT in-service training day, and we will be doing that on an annual basis around the February and March timeline. But this one just happens to fall on March 2nd. And then regular board meeting will be April 25th. And if the executive committee wants to meet between now and then, just let me know and we'll put that on the calendar. And that's
Okay,
all I've got.
we will, I'll get that information to you though.
Very good, sir. Questions or comments for me?
Okay, are there any other comments that need to be made in general before we adjourn? Okay,
Saturday, we're gonna have us on the Fayetteville Square for the Black Small Business Owners Expo. If anybody wants to come down to Fayetteville Square, it's gonna be a great event.
okay, thank you, Bobby. Any other comments?
The
Okay.
staff has done I'll just say this, the staff has done an outstanding job of keeping operations, administration and everything else running this past week, and I really do appreciate them.
It's awesome. Okay, if there's no other comments to be made, I hereby adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody. Have a good
Thanks,
day.
folks. See ya.